Okay. So today's video is supposed to be about attachment, why it really is your enemy. I imagine you're one of the three people I imagine you to be. You're either somebody who believes that there is something greater than us, or unifying force, or whatever. You generally like this kind of content, and that's why you're here. Second is a person who somehow stumbled upon this content. I don't know how, but it was supposed to happen. And you don't really find yourself to be a fan of it, but you still continue to watch for some reason. So you would be rather cynical of the things that I may try to preach. And the third person is kind of like a blend of the two. And you're somewhat positive, but at the same time, you want some scientific proof for things, which is not how it works. So this is going to be a longer video, as you may have already noticed. I hope it's going to be a longer one, because I don't really know what am I going to say specifically. I'm just really trying to make a video about the things that I want to make it about. And that's it. I hope this sounds all right, though. Honestly, I'm not like all that comfortable myself either. But it's all right. Perfection is also your enemy, by the way. But back to attachment. Oh, no. This is not very stable, even though the selfie stick itself, the brand is called Fixed, but it's not very fixed, is it? Anyway, Jesus. So, why is attachment your enemy? Well, because simply put, you fixate your identity and your sense of what you are around it. And you limit yourself that way. Holy shit, I got a spider. But I think he left the chat. He just fell down. Oh. Anyway. So you fixate yourself around it, and then you try to maintain that image of self, as you try to cling onto it as much as possible. But that limits your potential for being even greater. What does that mean, though? Well, to be the greatest is to not be bound by anything, basically. So you would have no self-image. You wouldn't have the need for it either. That's what I would say. But words can only do so much, really. So I really suggest, oh no, or maybe it's a good thing it falls down so often. It's a dog. Is he there? Wait, yeah, there. One of the only creatures in here. It's probably not gonna be neurotic about me having them in my frame. But it's kind of acceptable to me, or I don't know how else to refer to it, that if I would find myself in somebody else's frame, I would be like, yeah, what that person may do with that information. But at the same time, I would only be that way if I was afraid of death, which is another thing in regards to attachment. It makes you cling on to life, right? Because your image of self thereby would consist out of something, or would consist out of you being a certain way at some point in your life, right? So it's all tied to your life. So it just makes you cling on to life. So you must reject death, right? Because death is the opposite of that. So it just creates a lot of stress, and the stress accumulates and it makes you be more neurotic, and well, then you don't have the space to really appreciate things for what they are, as they are, and spread love and appreciation all around. Now, how do you do that, by the way? Just a quick note on that. How I feel about it is that you simply have to allow things for them to be as they are, and give everything space to be as it is. And if you want to utilize it, like its services or resources or whatever, then it has to be from a very sincere place, in my opinion. It has to be utilized for the sake of something greater. And then there should be no problem with cooperation. But besides that, it's a shame. If that's not the place from which you would do it, it's really a shame, because those resources, those assets could be used for something better. But they're not. And it's really just fear of something that prevents us from utilizing things that way. Because what else would it be? You know? So yeah. Attachment makes you want to reject death. It apprehends it. English is not my native language, but it conceals your sense of self into something that appears to be very specific to you, and that is the very thing you try to pursue and maintain every day, because you believe that is it. That's the holy grail. That's the answer. That's the philosopher's stone to everything. And that's the key, right? That's the right answer. And in that belief, you may try to enforce the beliefs that come with that, and actions that contribute to making the environment around you as how do you say supportive in a different way? Is contributing to the self-image you've acquired for yourself. And you try to enforce that upon the world and your environment, because you believe you're doing a good thing, right? Because, well, if what I believe and the self-image I have and the methods I utilize based on that self-image are right, then, well, why not do it, right? Because I'm just doing everybody a favor by being, quote unquote, the best version of myself. Why not do it? I'm just helping people, really. Well, that would be the case if that self-image weren't. Because if it isn't, then you will see things for what they are, and you will feel sincerely about everything, and only that way you can truly help somebody. Because then you'll understand their needs just by feeling them, really. I can't really explain what that means, because that's what feelings are, really. It's what we always say. It's just a feeling, That's why we don't try to provide proof for our feelings or justify them, because they're sincere. Oh, this is so great. The sunshine, light breeze though, but it's fine. It's not that bad. It's about 10 degrees Celsius right now. If you're wondering what environment this is the capital city of the country of Slovakia, Bratislava, and this is its whereabouts, kind of. So yeah, attachment. Even what may seem healthy at first in terms of attachment, if you're attached to it, it's not healthy. It's not about the attachment to it that's healthy. It's about doing it that's healthy. And you don't have to do something. Sorry, you don't have to be attached to something to do it. Okay? That's the thing. And it's like when I say it, it may sound really easy. It's like, whoa. Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah, it is. But one has to put themselves to it. One has a strong feeling about what they truly want out of life, especially right now. Yes, the future is cool. Knowing what you would want in the future is cool. But it may not happen. There may not be any tomorrow, you know? And by embracing that there may truly not be any tomorrow, and they may truly not be another couple seconds, you would thereby, I believe, accept death. Which is cool, which is great. Depending on what does death even mean to you, of course. Because if we embrace the potential reality that everything is just energy and everything is just willpower, enacting in its own way, in its own will, then there is no death. There's only change. Which is cool. Makes it all that more enjoyable, you know, if that's true. And it's true if things like, your will or whatever has been here many countless times before, but you forgot or it chose to forget on purpose, and where to transform into a new being, gain new form. It just makes it sound all that lighter to me. Sounds great. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just want to say it. Attachment, it rids you of your potential because it makes you cling to life, which is not all that important because you may not really ever die. You may just kind of forget, kind of. But maybe you remember once you get to a point where your soul or your spirit communicates with the divine or whatever, and it's like the intersect between the two, then you can gain access to all that you have forgotten. But the possible, or Jesus, I gotta practice being in a moment too. I'm not really all that amazing at it. I'm quite baffled by how well I'm doing so far, to be honest. Anyway, what do you feel about how I'm doing so far in terms of being in the moment? Because I don't know. Maybe I don't want to know. Anyway, as in, not that I don't care about your feeling. I do. I just don't care about the information, which is may sound the same, but it's not the same to me. Anyway, taking into account the possibility that you really die and then there is really nothing, right? Even then, there is the possibility that reproduction and survival and reproduction are still not the holy grail. It still may not be the most important thing. And that's why focusing on a self-image that you feel grants you the highest chances or probability of survival and reproduction may still be futile, because it would not be the thing that matters the most. Even if there is actual death, in terms of how I presume people would imagine it, or what meaning that would attach to it. But why? But why? Why is attachment so bad for you? Because it causes so much stress. And it makes you feel imprisoned. Because it's the opposite of feeling free. You don't feel free. So you're sacrificing your freedom at the expense of survival and reproduction that may or may not happen. And for that, we have to presume that that science or probability are anyhow useful. Maybe they are, but maybe they are not in terms of predicting the future. That's how I look at it. I think in terms of, in the face of the future, the science is, it holds no ground. Absolutely none. Because it can't predict shit. It can just analyze the past and put it into words that can't really express what was going on at all at the end. So, yeah, it's kind of cute to me, but it pales in comparison to feeling and sincerity and love and compassion and authenticity and freedom. But all those things are freedom. That's how freedom manifests. But I guess at some level somebody would have to truly have to feel that everything is one. But yeah. Well, I'm just saying, if you don't want stress in your life, if you want to feel like you're young forever, if you want to feel like you can do anything, if you want to get rid of overthinking, if you want to appreciate things for what they are and be able to discern between what is something that you consider worth it and not worth it in your subjective lens, then I really suggest you let go of everything. What does that mean? What does that mean? Letting go of everything, right? Because it's definitely not caring about it, okay? It's definitely not that. Because that's the opposite of attachment, which is still attachment. If you say you hate it, you still love it. Still attachment. Nothing changed, except your face. But that's it. So what is it? What is letting go? It's love. It's loving it for what it is, but not clinging onto it. Just letting it be. If it comes, you can grab onto it. You can do whatever. Just don't feel the need to do it. Don't feel like you have to. Don't feel like you should. Don't feel like you need. Do what feels right. But don't feel like you have to do it still, even if it feels right. Even if you, I personally struggle with this sometimes, or have in the past, that when something felt right, but I wasn't sure if that is what I want to do in that very moment, and I didn't do it. I used to blame myself for it because I was like, oh, I wasn't true to myself now. So, I'm a bad person because I'm not true to myself. Who I am if I can't be true to myself, How dare I betray myself? I view it as self-betrayal. But at the same time, it's the intention that really counts. That's why all humans are pure at heart and are inherently good, because all of us want love and freedom for everything, including ourselves. We do. That's what we started out as. Everybody, when we were children, we were getting along with anybody, no matter the circumstances, all the time. It doesn't matter. Come along, play, express yourself. We accept you. That's what we all started out as. But because I don't want to get into psychology too much, but the child is the embodiment. The actual child is the embodiment of the energy of the inner child that all of us carry with ourselves throughout all of our lives. That was lies. It's kind of Irish, I guess. And so they don't have, because kind of the opposite of that is the inner parent. Even though they're supposed to complement each other, but that's the balance that you're supposed to achieve in life. And the sooner you achieve that, the sooner you'll be free. Simple as that. But, so, you could say, right? You could say the child is not completely free, even though it seems to us as outsiders that way, because the child has very little of inner parent that they are utilizing. But at the same time, I'm not completely confident about saying that they don't have any of that, because many children, I believe, because of how pure they are, there's no resistance towards utilizing their inner parent as well. So I would say they may use it sometimes, because they're like, there's no resistance, to structure and preferences. There's no resistance to that. So, but it's not enough to a degree that it may prevent them from getting into a situation where their emotional reaction to a certain loss, you could say, of some sort, would not overwhelm them to a point where instead they would flip from that innocent inner child energy to overbearing, overreactive inner parent energy. And that's what happens, I believe, to many, if not most, if not all people. This transition, although it is more continual, I believe. It's not like it happens right away. Maybe it does in some cases, but well, that's the process of how you get from pure to transactional, right? Because that's how the parent operates. But clinging too tight onto that just causes too much stress and creates or makes up for a life that's not really worth living. Which is kind of sad, because it can be very livable and great. Even things like, which I personally don't enjoy, cold, okay? Even that can be enjoyable when you have the acceptance of that inner child and you utilize that inner child, that playfulness, that self-expression, well, anything can be fun, anything, because there is nothing but the present moment. Yeah. So the inner child has no attachment except freedom, it wants to be free. And yeah, it may sometimes come off as controlling while it's not meaning to be, but it doesn't mean to be, and it's the intention that matters. And that is why everybody's spirit heart, because all of our primordial intentions were to be LMB, to appreciate, to love, to experience, to make the best out of what you have. That's what it was. And then it shifted to, you need XYZ to be happy. Wow. So much grief in that to me. Grievance, is that the noun for that? Grievance? Like something being sad, but it's a noun. I don't know. Yeah. It's really about why I live life. People shy away from these quote unquote big questions because they, I guess, look at them as something that they have already figured out, because they believe they have the perfect method, the best method, the key, whatever you want to call it. So why ask yourself these questions if I already have everything? Well, what's so bad about critical thinking towards your ideology in the first place? Nobody's trying to attack you. Their intentions are probably to verify whether you really want the best for yourself and everybody else. Okay, so they really just want the best for you and yourself and themselves. Blah blah blah. That's how I see it. So yeah, it's a lot of work, I guess. I assume it would be for many people, or at least, if not a lot of work, a lot of intensity, emotional intensity they would have to go through to get from where they are to freedom. I'm not saying I'm there, but I want to be, and that again is the intention. I know that that's my one priority that sits at the top, because nothing matters more to me than that. If I'm gonna die right now with no children, nobody by my side, no assets, no not destiny, what's the word? No little legacy. Then I'm just gonna ask myself, did I live to the fullest? Was I in the moment? Was I in the moment? What I was doing the truest expression of myself that I could fathom at that moment? If it was, that's good. That's enough. And that's it. Let me know how you feel in the comments, and perhaps you'll see my content another time. Bye.